Hi, everyone. Are you okay? Has everyone made it? It is so cold outside. I get it. It happens every January, but it's cold. All right. This is cold. Your nostrils, like in a second, you just feel it. It's nuts. It just amazes me scientifically that planet Earth can get this cold and this far south as well. Anyway, I know winters aren't like they used to be. I get it. Hope your Sunday evening's going well. Tomorrow, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so a lot of you have off. I know a lot of schools are off as well. So hopefully you're enjoying your Sunday evening here without having the stress of having to get ready for your Monday. There's that. In terms of cold air, we're going to talk about a couple things. I've got some good tips from you from our Tiger Plumbing crew in terms of things you can do tonight. So this is going to be kind of an applicable. I totally screwed up that word. Applicable broadcast here tonight. We have some more chances of snow coming our way. Nothing huge, but some snow in the forecast. So we'll talk about that. And we're going to go long range. I'm going to go global. Like we're going to look at Northern Hemisphere. We'll look at the polar vortex where it is right now. We're going to track it out over the next 15 days to let you know if it's coming back, how long it stays, all that good stuff. Okay. So that's what we're dealing with. First comment I see is Susan. She says, what happened to El Nino? Susan, thank you. Do you remember in the fall when everyone's hinting on El Nino, what kind of winter that produces? It doesn't mean you don't get cold. And I don't like to rely on El Nino and La Nina because there's so many other things in play. So I'm with you on that. What happened to El Nino, right? We did have a very El Nino-ish pattern, at least to start winter, right? But boy, that subtropical jet has taken a dive to the south. We have a totally different weather pattern now, and it is not like El Nino. So there's that. So I like what you said there. Let's say hi to our early birds before we get to the maps. We'll just throw the maps up there. It's better than looking at my mug. Angel's with us. Good evening to you, Angel. Mary, hello. Mary, you're always first. You're so fast on that trigger with that. Good to have you with us tonight. Jeff, good evening to you. Debbie, Mark, good morning to you. Debbie says, warm it up fast. Severe storm filmer says, still bitterly cold northern Ohio. We had gusts as high as 60 in Stowe. Yep, it was windy. Warming up again, says Debbie. Reedmo, thanks for joining us on our YouTube channel. Gabrina says, it's stupid cold out there. JK's with us. Derek's with us. And then let's see. Andrew. Mother Nature is most angry at us. She is. All right. Phoebe, thanks for that update on that too, in terms of your trip. So there's that. And Delia's with us too. I don't want to screw up your name, but hi. It's either Delia or Delia, however you say it. It's a beautiful name either way. All right, let's get to the mat. Well, let's thank our sponsors first. I'm going to start at the bottom. Ewing Mechanical Services. Guys, during this cold spell, if your furnace goes out or you have any heating problems whatsoever, ewingmech.com. They have my stamp of approval. They're a wonderful family-owned business. They're local to Northwest Indiana. They're doing whole heating system replacements. They're putting in AC still this time of year. Indoor humidifiers. I just got my filter changed on our indoor humidifier. It makes such a difference. No more dry skin. If you need anything HVAC related regarding furnace, any of that, ewingmech.com. It's Ewing Mechanical Services. Awesome folks there. Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. Four-wheel drive comes in handy, except on ice. Nothing works. But if you guys need a new Jeep, they've got a brand new line of Jeeps on the lot, which all have wonderful four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. It's Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.com. St. Jude House, that's our nonprofit here in Northwest Indiana around the topic of domestic violence. Not pretty, I know. If you or anyone is going through anything related to that, coworker, whatever it is, I know it's not something you talk about, but maybe confidentially they have said something to you, send them to stjudehouse.org. They have a program where they have advocates that go out and they'll meet victims wherever they want secretly. And it's wonderful because they get them the help they need and get them out of bad situations. It's stjudehouse.org. PSA, that's our public service adjusters. They are very crucial this time of year as well. Pipes, let's not let them burst, okay? But let's say you have a burst pipe. and you have water problems in your house, okay? Instead of going to your insurance agency first, go to them. It's publicserviceadjusting.com. They are local to Northwest Indiana, licensed insured adjusters who will act as the go-between between you and your insurance company. You go to them first, they say, okay, let's come out. They come out, analyze the problem. They'll get you the help you need right away. They'll go to your insurance company right away. They'll get you all the money that you deserve for whatever damages you have. They do everything. You have no headache to deal with your insurance company. You don't have to wait. They're great. Publicserviceadjusting.com. Finally, tigerplumbing.net. They come out for free. They also give us great tips. So tips tonight, things that you can do with the cold weather if you have forgotten them. Outdoor spigot number one, okay? If you have an outdoor spigot, which most of you do, with the hose that you turn on to water the garden, wash the car, whatever it is, okay? Make sure that is off. And I don't mean off on the outside of the house. I mean off on the inside of the house. So typically your outdoor spigot, your water line's coming out from the basement, all right? So go down to your basement or wherever that is, and you're going to turn off the valve. You want to make sure there's no water supply running to that outside spigot. All right. So you turn the valve, the little lever you see, it's usually running with the pipe, like to the flow. Okay. It's usually like this. Here's the pipe. Here's your valve. You want to turn it like this. That shuts off the water to the outside. Okay. That will prevent any water from being where it's coldest, which is on that outside wall. Second of all, you want to let your pipes drip tonight. Okay. Or your faucets drip tonight. Okay. The reason why, if you don't have water running through the pipe, whatever water's close to that outside wall, all right, can freeze. If you have it running, that's why rivers don't freeze very easy, because it's flowing water. It takes longer to freeze. So you want to leave it dripping so that there's water at least running through that pipe. It can be real slow, but at least it's running, right? So leave your faucets, especially those that have pipes exposed to the outside wall. Let those drip, okay, tonight. The other thing is you want to leave your cabinets open, all right? If you have cabinetry, which most people do, under your sink where the pipes are, leave the cabinets open so that they can get the heat from the house in there to warm the pipes, all right? We just don't want ice in the pipes. That's the big thing that we're preventing. And most of our pipes and cabinets and walls and stuff like that are usually exposed to the outside walls of the house where it's coldest at some point. So leave your cabinets open as well. Two other great tips they had: leave a fan. If you're really concerned about it, leave a fan next to that cabinet that's open and blow the warm air in there. That way it gets in there. A tip I have is turn your heat up a couple extra degrees tonight to help with that, to keep your pipes extra warm. That's what we're doing. And then the last thing, this is great news or great advice from Tiger Plumbing. Again, this isn't all an advertisement. This is literally broadcast material. Okay, we're helping you out here. But it's great advice from them. They said to run your faucets on full blast a couple times a day. And I never knew that. I always wondered if that mattered, but it does. And so that really makes sure the pipe's cleaning itself out, right, of any ice chunks or anything like that. If you are running it and for some reason you have flow problems where it's not coming out as much, you want to take a hair dryer to the pipe underneath where that is, okay? You never want to leave your hair dryer unattended. I just need to throw that out there. I mean, you just don't want to have a hair dryer just laying there like, not that it does that. But anyway, you want to heat up those pipes underneath and keep that flow going. Okay. Lots of problems with cold weather. I know it's not the sexiest topic to talk about. I don't really like talking about heat index either. But this is what we're dealing with right now. This is what Mother Nature's given us, is some very cold air. And I don't want any region weather followers to have a burst pipe tonight or tomorrow or Wednesday or Tuesday or Thursday, because this cold air is going to stick around. Okay. All right. So that's what we're dealing with. We want to thank tigerplumbing.net for that. You can online schedule with them on there as well, which is cool. All right, here we go. Let's talk about it. I thought this was cool. This is our infrared satellite. And I mean, we've got this little area of clouds that went by, sure. But notice all the blues and the purples that are just kind of sitting there. When this satellite is detecting clouds, it's detecting the temperature of the clouds. So in the summertime, you'll see this very satellite product. You'll have oranges and reds where there's giant thunderstorm complexes that develop. So it's detecting cold air, because once that cumulonimbus cloud gets way up in the sky, it gets really cold up there, right? Because it's up 50,000 feet in the atmosphere. And so it detects cold cloud tops. What the infrared satellite does this time of year when you have a polar air mass is it thinks that the ground that is freezing cold is a cold that it thinks it's a cloud. Isn't that nuts? It's crazy. So you can see where all the cold air is. All right. For us, it gets worse. Montana is really taking it tonight. But that's kind of the pattern we're in. A couple little systems here. Lake effect's been ongoing in southwest lower Michigan, actually all of western Michigan. I talked about this before, the storms that we had that went through, that they're just going to get days and days of lake effect. I would imagine some places are going to end up with 40 inches because the wind is just across the lake the whole entire time. I don't think LaPorte County gets much from this. All right. You got a little extra yesterday, but overall, most of it's going to stay in Berrien County up north. National news tonight and tomorrow. And I have a buddy who lives in Nashville. They're just freaking out. they're going to get a little bit of snow down there. I mean, they're going to get decent snow down in Mississippi. I don't want to discount this because some places could see 8 inches to a foot, which is more than we've seen all winter, right? Which is crazy. But they're going to get some snow down there, and it's from this system right here. You see this is tomorrow. Notice lake effects going. We're not having any problems from it. And then, they're getting ice on top of the snow. It's just kind of messy down in Tennessee. And I know they can't remove it as well, so I get it, but I tease. For us, we get maybe this little wave of some flurries on here tomorrow night and a Tuesday. Nothing to really write home about. And then high pressure kind of settles in briefly. And then we talk storm chances later this week. First and foremost, though, I want to talk temps. So we've got two things really to share with you. Then we'll answer your questions. We're going to go over wind chill temps. Okay. I don't want to talk air temps at this point. The next time, this is all I'll say about air temps. Next time we go above freezing is probably next Tuesday, not like 2 days Tuesday, next Tuesday. All right. This is going to be a prolonged period of below freezing temperatures. That's a problem for our ground. And I saw someone that mentioned frost quakes, and yes, I've heard rumors that there have already been some across portions of the Midwest. So that's when there's a lot of the water goes down in the ground, right? And when that freezes and condenses, the earth is expanding and contracting with that, and it can cause buildup of pressure, and you can get literally earthquakes from really cold air. Especially it's got to be really cold because it's got to get really cold down in the ground. Typically underground, it stays kind of mild as you get further down, right? So yes, that's certainly a possibility. We'll see. But here we go in terms of the cold air. All right, these are your wind chills, and this is all that I think really matters. All right, we're talking wind chills tonight, -30, tomorrow -30. So if you are staying home tomorrow, just do it. That's probably the best thing to do. Hopefully you guys can see these numbers, but we've got -40-degree wind chills, northern Illinois, -20 to -30 here. Okay. It is a cold day tomorrow. Things start to recover a little bit Monday afternoon. And then Tuesday, we do it all over again, -20 to -30. We'll take our wind chill warning and it turns into a wind chill advisory, which is less severe, but it's still going to be bone chilling cold on Tuesday. By Wednesday, we're bringing in a little bit of moisture. That's our next little shot at snow. So with moisture comes a little bit warmer air. So it's only going to feel like -10 to -15. Boy, that'll be nice. And then by Wednesday afternoon, it warms up. I mean, that's really your warm spell right there. It feels like 7. And then Thursday, here you go. Thursday afternoon feeling like 18. So, hey, that's manageable, right? And then Friday into Saturday, there are signs that we go back to the cold. Not quite as bitter cold this upcoming weekend, but there's another little lobe of that polar vortex that kind of rotates in. So we feel more like -10 to -15 Saturday morning, warming up to -2 for it feels like in the afternoon. And you see how that air finally gets out of here. If you're tracking with me last week, we're calling for a warm up finally sometime around January 24th, 25th. Model's still kind of holding to that now that we're starting to get a look into that. So here's January 24th. We've got feels like temperatures of 32 degrees. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel. It's just going to take a long time to get there. It really is. Okay. So let's talk storm chances this week. Okay. I don't see any big storms, and here's why. Polar air, which is what we have, it's literally air from the North Pole. That's where it typically belongs. It doesn't have a lot of moisture with it. So when we don't have a lot of moisture with it, you can't get big snowstorms. Big snowstorms usually develop, and I say usually because this was a setup for the last 2. Even though the heavy snow missed us, I get it. That has warm air with lots of moisture because warm air can hold a ton of moisture. So we have real warm air mixing with the cold air. That's how you get the big, robust snows. In this pattern, when it's cold from here all the way down to the Gulf Coast, we can't get any big snowstorms. In fact, we get little tiny ice crystals, which are the real powdery stuff. That's kind of the snow that we're looking at this week, because there's no temperature near freezing or anything like that. All right. So lake effect continues. We'll take you through the week. There's our little hit at maybe some flurries Monday evening into Tuesday. Bulk of the moisture will be south. We're now into Wednesday. Lake effect still going in Michigan, right? And then Wednesday night into Thursday, this is our next real chance of snow. There's going to be some kind of system coming together to our south. Again, not a ton of moisture with this. It's kind of just a system. And all indication is, as this system's getting going, most of the models are picking up on another area of energy coming out of the west. That's going to be our little snowmaker in here. And that's Thursday into Friday. This would be a strip of probably 1 to 3 inches. I could see it, though, if it starts to blend with this system that's out east. And I'm showing you the snowiest model. I could see heavier amounts than that. I mean, this one could sneak up on us as a low to mid impact kind of storm. All right, because we'd have widespread snow. The model's indicating, if this is the GFS, indicating that if this low does get going, we'll start to develop a northerly wind, which we'd have area-wide snow, and then we'd develop some lake effect within that, so some lake-enhanced snow, which would bring us some bigger totals. So I don't want that one to sneak up on us, but that's this Thursday and Friday. Okay, so that's really the next thing I'm watching, and that will become a more robust snow out towards our east. But that's kind of a different setup. It's not a storm we've seen this year yet. And then the Euro really likes lake effect, and it likes heavy lake effect in Porter and LaPorte County for Friday and Saturday. Okay, so just something to keep an eye on. I'm not going to call it yet for sure. Sunday, we kind of bring a high pressure in for a day, and then it heads east. And then for the first time in like a week and a half, we'll have a southwest wind. So we'll start to tap into warmer air. And that's when we're going to jump out of that freezing mark Monday and the Tuesday next week, it looks like. And yeah, it looks to turn kind of flip-flop where the west gets cold again and we start to warm up with maybe some rain. Okay. But that would go with our theory that we warm up the 24th and 25th, somewhere in there. Okay. All right. So last thing I want to show you is, this is top-down look. Here's the United States. If you can't see it, this is Canada up here. We're kind of looking at the northern hemisphere. All right. And this is the polar vortex. So what the polar vortex is you have this up in the stratosphere at the North Pole. You typically have very fast wind, okay, in the stratosphere. And what that wind does is it keeps the air mass that belongs at the North Pole, the real true polar air, it keeps it kind of locked up. All right. It keeps circulating around and keeps it locked up. And what happens is, a lot of times we'll have either stratospheric warming, or, to make things simple, the stratosphere, the wind around the stratosphere kind of loosens up a little bit. It lessens up. All right. And when it does that, the cold air can kind of blob out. It kind of falls out, if that makes sense. And so what we had over the last 2 weeks is a falling out of the polar jet. All right. And the stratosphere kind of weakened. So this polar vortex, or these little chunks of it, come down all over the globe in different spots. All right. Not everyone gets cold. Different spots get cold. And so that's what we had here. This is a blob that belongs on the North Pole that kind of oozed its way down to the south. Okay. So we need to get this back off towards the north again. Okay. I've never explained it that way, but hopefully that makes sense. So here we go. Let's go through time. We'll go over next 15 days. So you see how this blob is just kind of rotating in Canada. I mean, it's just bitterly cold in Canada right now. It kind of rotates back Tuesday. That's what makes it so we don't warm up this week. It's just hanging out. I mean, it's just hanging out just north of us. By Thursday and Friday, it starts to rotate up, and it meets up with the true polar vortex where it belongs, up in Canada, or North Pole. However, this is starting to kind of leak south a little bit. But you notice how what that does is it allows us to warm up a little bit. All right. It brings in more of a zonal flow. So we're getting air off the Pacific instead of Santa's workshop. Okay. And then what happens next week? I mean, this looks intimidating. This is some of the coldest air on the globe starts to sink into Canada. We're mild. I mean, we're doing okay. This is next Monday, Tuesday. You know, we're finally above freezing. But we got to keep an eye on this blob up here, okay? Because it displaces itself into eastern Canada, which that's fine if it's there. But it's just there. It's just kind of hanging out, all right? And there are some signs that maybe, and this is really the only sign when I say there's some signs that maybe a chunk of it would break off to start February, All right. Way too early to tell that. I still want to focus on the warm up later this month. We will get warmer. So there's that. But we may not be done with this yet. Okay. So just know that. All right. That's all I have for you tonight. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, we'd be happy to answer those. I do appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday to join me. Let's see. What do we have here? Yeah, Susan, you're welcome for the tips. She said, never knew to run my faucets full force a couple times per day. I didn't know that either, Susan. So we're going to do that. Hey, honey. Oh, I thought that was my wife. Is Mama downstairs?
No.
She's not. Okay. All right. I was going to tell her to run the faucets. Yeah?
But I have this on here.
You have that? Do you want to show, since you guys are making an appearance every night, you want to show everyone your dinosaur PJs?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is Wyatt. I don't think you guys have ever met Wyatt. Let's look at your PJs. Look at that. Look at that. We've got some kind of dinosaur or something. Hey, do you know we should run the faucets on full several times a day? Did you know that? He's not supposed to be down here. Anyway, okay. All right. All right. Say goodnight.
Good night.
Yeah, I guess you run them on full. That's what Tiger Plumbing said. So anyway, live broadcast, everybody. Let's see. Oh, Ruth, good question. I like this. She says, if we're around minus 20 or minus 10, minus 20, what's the temp in the middle of the polar vortex? Ruth, let's go check real quick. And then Maxwell, do you expect it to get this cold again in February? Do you think about more of a mild month? Maxwell, too soon to tell. If this thing descends upon us in February, it would be colder. But as you know, as we get into February, we have a higher sun angle. It starts to make a difference. It's really hard to get the cold air this far south. LG says, I love your coworker. Yes. Wyatt helps with all forecasts. He actually helped with this map. That's why it's so colorful. There's that. Let's answer Ruth's question real quick because I'm curious as well. I don't usually look at Canadian weather. So let's go North America, Canada. Let's just do it. Let's go Thunder Bay. All right. We're going to look at this and let's look at what their wind chills are real quick. Let me find it here. I'm shooting a blank on. I don't see wind chill. Oh, apparent temperature. It's in Celsius. I can't do the conversion that fast. So minus 23 Celsius. Could someone do the conversion on their Google real quick? I'm a meteorologist and I don't do the math on that. And that's not even the coldest. Let's see what their coldest is. So their coldest apparent temperature is minus 30. So it looks like minus 30 is as cold as they get. And let's look into Western Canada because that's where the real cold's going to be right now. Oh, it doesn't show numbers on it. It's like minus 45, minus 50. Okay, that seems more like it. That's Celsius, okay? So minus 45, minus 50 is how cold they are up there. Could someone do the math on that real quick with your Google? I don't have it right now available. All right. Let's see. Good question, Sean. Is Thursday, Friday snow wet, snow, or fluffy? Sean, it would be fluffy. It would be fluffy. Real light. There's not going to be a lot of moisture to it. It'd blow around really easily, so hopefully we don't have a lot of wind with it. But we'll see. Amanda, you say your chickens hate this. I can imagine. And guys, any outdoor pets, please bring them in. I don't know about the chickens, Amanda, but just bring them in. Yeah, Janet, I've got an old meteorology friend who he was a coworker of mine at another station. He's up in Montana right now, and they were talking feels like temperature up there of minus 60 to minus 70 for wind chill. That's just crazy. Brent, thanks for the math on that. I appreciate that. He says minus 40 and minus 40 are the same. That's where it equals each other. That's not my strong suit, is doing the conversion, because you have computers that do it for you. I never paid attention in school for that part. More forecasting. No, I don't see thunderstorms next week. That for that next system, no, I don't. It's not gonna be. I don't think it'll be warm enough. So your storm filming. You're talking that the system later this month. Yeah. The Cloggin dude says the first weekend of February 2007 was brutally cold. We've had some serious cold air masses in February. I'm not saying we can't get cold. We can get real cold in February. But things on our side are like the sun angle and the fact that, it's February, not January. Our coldest days of the year, just so you know, at least in the Great Lakes, it's different all around the country. But for the Great Lakes, our coldest days of the year are typically January 16th through the 22nd. Those are our lowest average highs for the year. And then we start to rebound. So And other good news as well. It's the 14th today. So on the 12th, we're gaining daylight both on our sunset and our sunrise now. Our sunrise was the last to gain daylight. I know it's super confusing. I won't explain it to you, but we've had later and later sunsets since a little bit before Christmas, but our sunrises haven't been earlier until 2 days ago. I make sure I did say that right. It's super confusing. Either way, if you're driving to work in the morning, it's going to be brighter and brighter. All right, as we continue to go, we're not gaining much, but we're gaining some. So Phoebe says, last night AccuWeather said the pollen was high. I don't think that's pollen that we're dealing with. That's funny. Good times. Yeah, Kathy, I see your comment for sure. And Janet has a cousin in Montana, says it's cold. All right, very good. Yeah, Kathy says there was steam coming off Lake Michigan. I believe it. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, so Danielle, I mentioned this earlier in the broadcast, the frost quake. So it's certainly possible. There have already been some reported in the upper Midwest, when we could get some here. So a frost quake there's water that seeps into the ground, right? And it goes way down into the ground. And when we get really, really cold air like we have now, typically it happens when we're below zero or at zero, which is where we're at, right? We get frozen water very far down into the Earth's crust, at least over us locally. And that expansion and contraction of that ice developing can shift and cause up pressure to build. And so we can get earthquakes or frost quakes, as they call them, just because it's so cold, because of what it's doing to water below our surface. And the other thing is we can see light pillars sometimes this time of year. I don't know if any of you have dealt with that or have seen that or seen pictures. You can Google that as well. But a lot of times with the polar air mass, there tend to be snow crystals lofted in the air, just little light fluffy crystals everywhere. And that can, if you're in usually have to be in a dark spot looking at a city, or not being able to see the city, but in a dark spot, and you could see these beams of light coming up as that light attaches to the crystals from that polar air mass. So really crazy things can happen when you have really cold air, and that's certainly what we have right now. Kathy, the salt won't work this low of a temperature. Great question. But the sun, if the sun comes out, when the sun's out, the sun can heat the asphalt or the pavement up to a point where the salt would work again. Does that make sense? Because, it's an albedo effect, but the darkness holds a lot of heat, right? So if the sun's shining on a dark surface, it'll store a lot of that heat and warm it up. All right. And so if you guys have driveways that are asphalt and it's all ice right now or snow covered, it helps to shovel out some spots so that you can see the black part of your asphalt, if that makes sense. All right. Because then the sun will go to work on it and you got an automated heating system. So kind of cool on that. Debbie, you're welcome for sure. Oh no, Tracy, the eggs exploded. Oh man, that's crazy. All right. Well, I don't see a whole lot. Kathy, no, it won't work as well. The sun may heat the salt pellet itself up, but I don't know if it heats it up to, salt needs like 15 to 20 degrees or higher typically. So I'm not sure if it heats it up to 15 or 20 degrees. I'm unfamiliar with that. So I'm not sure. You can always try it. Just try it in a little section where the sun's out. At least we have that. So great question though. Great question. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. Please stay warm. I hope you take those tips from Tiger Plumbing seriously tonight. So before you go to bed, if you want to take care of that stuff, that'd be awesome. Because the biggest mess is when you have a pipe burst in your house. I've had family that it's happened to, and they've had to have whole things replaced, whole floors. It's a mess. So, okay, take care of yourself. Stay warm. We'll keep you updated throughout the week on that late week storm system. We'll talk cold too. We all know it's cold, so that's no breaking news there. But in terms of that late week snow potential, we'll talk about that. Okay. All right. Have a great day off tomorrow if that's you. If not, enjoy less traffic, and we'll talk to you again soon. Okay. All right.